Hey, Adam Whistler back here with Chaplain Dyer. As with most podcast episodes, these views are those of our own and not those of the holistic health approach, the Space Force, Air Force, or the Department of Defense in general. So, without further ado, Chaplain Dyer, hey, welcome.
Hey.
Will you tell us, please, a little bit more about yourself and then your military background, where you're coming from, and why you joined the military?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Happy to be a part of the team and to support these guardians. So Maurice, my first name, Dyer. I am a priest. I'm an Episcopal priest. Come from California. Come from military family. Dad was a Marine. He was an E9 and brothers in the Air Force. He's stationed out at Davis-Monthan. Folks in my family are from the Navy, got a Green Beret. And so I certainly was an outlier in my family when I said, hey, everybody, I'd called to be a priest.
Sure.
And, but they do say that the big guy upstairs has a sense of humor.
Sure.
Somehow, some way, I wound up in this uniform.
Yep.
So like I said, I'm from California, but worked in churches and in California, in the northern part of California, in Washington, D.C., in Virginia, and my last one was in Philadelphia.
Awesome.
So I'm coming into the military. This is my first station between here and Peterson and
Yep.
Cheyenne Mountain. And yeah, so far so good.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the ways that we kind of approach for the Guardian Vigilance team, we approach like creating the healthiest versions of the people that we serve, right? How do you see spirituality or religion or your role as a chaplain sort of enhancing the lives of the health and wellness of the guardians that we serve here?
Yeah, I truly think that to be spiritually healthy, if you will, that is the ultimate sense of health and vitality and strength and resiliency. I think I've come across many people in my life and counseled who have been incredibly wealthy or incredibly successful in their careers, but usually there is that peace. I won't say peace. It makes up the whole of a person, and without that, I think we're all, to some extent, searching for purpose, for wholeness, and for health. So how do I think that spirituality fits into it? I think it's a vital piece of our lives. Why do we wake up in the morning? What gives us purpose? What connects us to other people? What keeps us going when life is difficult? Who do we have to rejoice with when things are going really well, or whose shoulder can we lean on when things are going really awful?
Yeah.
And I think that spirituality piece, that community piece, that being connected to a higher purpose than ourself piece is,
Sure.
yeah, it's one of the most important questions that we'll search for as individuals.
Definitely. Yeah. So with our Guardian Vigilance team, we kind of use the framework of the 5 factors of health to create the healthiest versions of the people that we serve, like I just said, right? So the 5 factors of health is how we move, how we eat, how we recover, how we think, and then how we connect with others, right? How do you see spirituality being woven into those sort of 5 factors, despite not being its own, let's say, necessarily factor, but there's clear spirituality indicators throughout those 5 factors? How do you see that fitting into to a holistic health model?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got other answers, but I'm going to take you to maybe an unexpected place and start
Sure.
with the way we eat. In a previous life, not like reincarnated, but
Sure.
before I was in the military, I was a practitioner of Tai Chi, and I loved it. I loved the centering piece of it. I loved the movement aspects of it. But one of the things that I used to love to do with children, especially, is mindful eating.
Sure.
And so it's like, I remember going to officer training school, and it's like, okay, you've got 5 minutes, sit down, chow your food down,
Yep.
and get out of here.
Yeah.
And and so I understand in a training environment why one would have to eat and see major pain and
Yeah.
shoveling the food in your mouth. But I would ask people a question: where are your taste buds located?
Sure.
They're in your mouth, they're in your tongue, not in your stomach.
Sure.
And so here's something that we all do: we all eat. How can we bring a deeper sense to tie a deeper sense to this action? And so we could spend more time with the not just paying attention to what we're eating, but how we're eating it,
Sure.
and really savoring it. I love to have grapes because grapes are so um, multi-layered. There's a juicy piece in the middle, there's a
Sure.
waxy piece on the outside, and
Yeah.
really spend a moment with each of those components. So what makes
Sure.
up a grape? And in doing so, we practice a sense of being present and being mindful. And I think
Sure.
that this is all tied to a spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, people would describe living a spiritual life as going to church, but living a spiritual life really just means being present in each moment, being thankful for each moment.
Yeah.
And the more we're able to do that, the more we're able to interact with the different components that makes up our life, the different things that we do. But in terms of the five pillars, components, this thought, the way we think, the way we're connected to others, this is at the heart of what it means to be a spiritual person, a religious person,
Right.
perhaps. Um, I had a priest friend once. I was much younger and he was much older. And he said, uh, he had a church right outside of a university that's back in California. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about all these students. And he said, if they were smart, they'd come to church. Not necessarily because of what is being said at church, but because church is a place for community. And to gather with other people, there's power. I mean, we're in the military,
Sure.
Um, when you gather people for a specific purpose, there's power in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that connection piece is really important. um, I know so many people, and have been that kind of person who's just 9 to 5 all day, get off, grab a bite to eat, watch a TV show, go to sleep, wake up and do it again. And before too long, months have passed, years have passed,
Sure.
and it's like, okay, well, if we're talking about purpose, where's the purpose in that?
Right.
And folks are constantly asking that question. I think that coming out of COVID, a little bit
Yeah.
ago, people are asking this question: what am I doing here? And why am I doing what I'm doing? And I think that spirituality piece, you find meaning with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and you find meaning in, um, exploring thoughts, exploring, that thought mixed in with people can lead you into a deeper spiritual life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I hear a lot about the nutrition piece. I hear a lot about like the self talk and like the way that we process experiences and like the think bucket and whatnot, right? And especially that social community aspect of it. Do you think that there is a level of sort of the way that individuals like go about their daily lives that is different for someone that is, let's say, pursuing spirituality or religion in any way? Do you think that that could potentially enhance their overall health and wellness, in any one of those pieces?
I absolutely do. I think that, um, as a priest, I believe that each moment that we're given is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly don't act always as though each moment is a gift. But at my best, when I do, just able to see the reflections of the holy, of the divine, and makes me more grateful
Sure.
and more thankful for the things and the people that come in and out of my life. Um, yeah, so I'd certainly think that there's a benefit to being more intentional about not just the tangible things, the physical things, but
Mm-hmm.
those things that are intangible, those things that, uh, if you will, can become eternal.
Sure.
And
Okay. If you have someone that's like thinking about their spirituality or maybe even questioning their spirituality or their religious faith, what would you recommend to them for exploring that? Do you think that they should leverage a chaplain corps? Do you think that they should leverage the conversation with their friends? Like, for someone that's like curious, maybe questioning, or is curious about, exploring those topics, like what would you recommend to them
Yeah.
to kind of do so?
I think if any of you are exploring, keep doing it. You're doing the right thing,
Yeah,
and and then what's the next step? Is plug in with the community.
sure,
Find some people who might be walking the walk that a little bit further down the journey than you are,
sure.
and ask them some questions. How do you believe the things that you believe?
Yeah,
What benefit does living a life like this, offer to me?
sure,
And I think that the more questions that you have, the better off you'll be.
sure,
If I think the real problem is when we think we have all the answers,
sure.
and we stop exploring, because then we start eating our food faster because I know what's in it and I'm just trying to get it and it's just fuel for my body and I'm just but there is a component to living life that is just like I said, it's not tangible.
Yeah,
So certainly come talk to chaplains,
yeah,
talk to your fellow guardians. I'm often so surprised how faithful folks are.
yeah,
I thought coming into the military, I'm a parish priest. I know why people come to church. They're searching. They want to be in community, want to worship together. Um, but I thought it was going to be incredibly challenging. I'm like, I'm going to go in the military. Nobody's going to know what I'm doing here.
mm-hmm,
But that is not the case at all. There are so many faithful people, and that is not just Christian faith
mm-hmm.
or Muslim faith or Jewish faith. It's all sorts of faith groups are represented um, in the Space Force.
Yeah,
I've talked to a Wiccan. Would I ever talk to a Wiccan if I was still in my parish? I, Probably not.
probably not.
And if we did, the conversations would sound an awful lot different than what they sound.
Right.
And so I think that what the military offers for a sense of spirituality is that there is a sense of safety because there is so many different belief systems, and you don't agree with them all, and that's okay, and
Yeah,
nobody's saying that. But to continue to ask the questions and to continue to enter into these spaces in which you can meet other people to have discussions, I think it's a beautiful thing.
sure.
And so keep doing it. If you're asking questions, keep asking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when we think about then, for the Space Force specifically, right? You have a pretty unique set of challenges from like a daily work site, set of challenges,
Mhm.
right? With a lot of shift work, a
Mhm.
lot of different people doing night shifts or being on and off schedule,
Mhm.
going back and forth. That is certainly a big challenge for a lot of individuals. How do you see them, being able to maybe practice their faith on a daily and weekly basis? Is it just that time that you have, in church on Sunday morning, or is it, like practice throughout their lives on a daily basis? Like,
Yeah.
you know, sort of how does spirituality and, their religious faith play into, the unique challenges of the Space Force?
Yeah. I think that certainly so night shift is difficult.
Yeah,
I mean it is at first until your body cycle changes and then it's weird to work the day shift.
sure.
Um, I used to live at a monastery with monks, Benedictine monks, and they call it praying the offices. So there are five different the way the church, the big C Catholic Church is organized is that there are five um, daily services, one very early in the morning and periodically throughout the day. And so I think that that is not unique to being a Christian, a Catholic Christian, not a Roman Catholic perhaps, although Roman Catholics do it, but just a big C Catholic, meaning everybody. Um, I know that Muslims pray throughout the day. I just think that what I'm trying to say is that no matter what time you're working or how your life is organized, be it during the day, at night, some combination of the both, is that much like this mindful eating practice, with grapes, have a grape, um, that if we set aside time for intentionality,
Mm-hmm.
to be intentionally, um, you know, to intentionally explore these questions, to intentionally, um, I would call it prayer, to enter into a prayer life cycle, um, that you can enter into that at any point in your day.
Sure.
It's not tied to, certainly go to church, on
Sure.
Sunday, but and then if we want to keep with that, churches offer different kinds of services throughout the week. I used to offer this one. It was a midweek service at, gosh, I think it was like 6:30 a.m., 7 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and I was trying to capture a lot of the night shift nurses and
Mm-hmm.
medical staff that were coming off their shift, who just wanted to get a quick low key worship service in before they went to bed, and then
Sure.
and continue. So I think that there are different ways that we can enter into that conversation with that that sense of divinity.
Sure.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah. When we then think about the Space Force in general, of course, or the Air Force, any of the individuals we serve, do you have any like references or resources that you generally speaking like point people towards,
Mhm.
to try to like explore some of this on their own?
Mhm.
If they don't want to talk to anybody about it, like where do you point people in general whenever they have any questions, or for anybody that doesn't want to go talk to anybody, like what direction do you
Yeah,
point them toward?
I would say, in lieu of coming to talk to a chaplain, there is a very beloved member of the family that we all have, and her name is Auntie Google.
Sure.
So ask some preliminary questions in Google,
Yeah.
and it'll show you where there's a gathering of people. But I'd be surprised if, certainly for all these guardians, you all do have people in your life who you can go and ask questions to. And I know this because the chaplain corps exists. And so you've always got a resource in us,
Sure.
to help point you in a direction that you're looking to go.
Yeah.
But in lieu of that, ask Google.
Sure.
And you can't trust everything that you read on Google.
Of course.
But it can be helpful in helping you take a first step or a next step
Mm-hmm.
in a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay. Do you have any other, comments you'd like to know about, like, like living a healthy lifestyle or becoming the healthiest versions of yourself, through the different five factors, or in spirituality in particular, or in their religious faith in particular? Do you have anything, else you'd like to add to any of those pieces?
I I I think that, and you'll know this to be true, that they're all intertwined and interconnected. I know that when I um, sit and counsel with someone, some of the first questions I ask them is, "How are you sleeping?
Mm-hmm.
How are you eating? What's your workout like?" Because we know that if there's a dip in activity in any of those realms, there's probably also a dip in the mental and the emotional, and perhaps the spiritual. And so we know that, as we talk about holistic health, and that is the truth. And so it really takes all of these things to make a person strong inside and outside. And yeah, so I would leave the viewer with that, is that they are all interconnected. You really can't have one without the other and think that you're maximizing
Right.
your health or your lifestyle or your sense of connection.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for your
It's a
thoughts.
lot of fun.
Awesome.
Thank you.